We're back on Born B464 with Mark Smith and his daughter Ashley. And Ashley, were you around when your dad wrestled ever?
No, ma'am. Well, I wasn't there during the professional part.
The WCW.
The WCW. But later on, he did small
wrestling.
Yes, ma'am. It was mainly training other wrestlers that wanted eventually to get to the big time, but right now they were just wrestling at a small little venue in town.
And what did you think about that?
I thought it was actually really neat because most of my friends after school, they'd go straight home and I would be riding with him in the car to go to the wrestling show and everything.
Right.
And so it was really fun. I got to learn quite a few things.
Right. Do you think you'd ever want to be in sports and reporting wrestling or anything like that? Would that be exciting for you?
I could see reporting being exciting just because you're there, but you don't actually have to worry about getting injured.
Right.
But
do you notice how they get up in the ring? Some of these girls and stuff, they get up in the ring and they're flaunting themselves a little bit.
Yes.
And is that all make believe, Mark?
Sure. I mean,
that's showmanship, isn't it?
Exactly. I mean,
what's real and what's not? Tell me about it.
Well, okay. Number one, you can't fake gravity. When you fall, you fall.
You fall.
You fall on a little bit of padding across stretched steel beams, and if you're lucky, it'll give about 2 inches when you hit it.
And when people jump on you, do they really jump on you the way they do?
Sure. You have to try to protect yourself somewhat, but yeah, I mean, my boot's at home. She'll have a friend come over, or one of the other kids will have a friend come over, and they think, oh my goodness, these things are they're like a sponge on the bottom, real easy. Part of the reason I got so many concussions is because when you take it and hit it against your hand, it leaves a welt on your hand. It's so hard.
Wow. How many concussions have you had?
They figure over 20. I may be in the 30 to 50 range.
Let me ask this question.
Yes.
Do you think for so many different sports people today, there's so many, not only young but older people, that from fighters to whatever, that are getting concussions, that are having problems and brain trauma and whatever. Do you think there should be headgear even in wrestling?
Well, as far as headgear in wrestling, I'd say no. Wrestling has kind of backed itself into a corner.
Okay.
And what I mean is, when the match goes so far as either the blood or the athleticism involved, then, people want more. So then you go further. Nowadays, guys are falling off of scaffolds. Guys are falling through multiple tables. They're doing all these things.
Why?
Wrestling, for the drama, for the show, to get it on YouTube. If people think that something big is going to happen, if they think there's going to be a lot of blood, if they think there's a ladder match, so people will be on top of a 20-foot ladder and fall over into 3 tables. I mean, if they think that kind of thing's going to happen, 15,000 people are going to show up at the arena. And I mean, when you talk about movies, when you talk about wrestling trying to emulate the movies, I mean, these guys, I can't hardly walk. I know tons of others that can't hardly walk because of the injuries. I see these young guys now, and I see the way the business is going.
There was no protection for you, was there?
Something you hope will happen. I would love to see wrestling get more back into the storylines without guys having to get their heads bashed in all the time.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Who's the most famous wrestler that you know that has the same kind of problems that you do today?
Wow. I know some football players.
Right.
Wrestlers.
And was there insurance or anything
No,
for these guys?
nothing
There was
at all.
nothing.
Because I don't talk to them
On a regular basis.
I know even last night to get ready for today, Kathryn, Ashley was in bed and I was looking on YouTube. I was looking at the number of guys my age that have died since 1985, guys that died before 49 years old.
How old are you?
How old am I? 48? 47? 47.
You're
Yes.
47.
47.
I believe so.
I'm not saying this to be funny, okay?
But because of some of the things that you've gone through concussion-wise, it's probably affected your memory.
It does. I mean, like that right there, I get asked a question. I do question myself sometimes. Multiple times, and I know people say this happens all the time, but I walk into a room. I mean, I will walk into the room and I will be 3 steps in the room and know what I'm going for. And then in a split second, it's not, oh, what did I need? I just totally forget why in the world did I even need to come in here? I mean, it's, last night I was on my phone and I was looking up the YouTube and stuff, and my hands were trembling more. They're not doing bad right now. And, but I was having to take one hand and hold a finger down to make sure that when I went to hit a 2 or hit something, I wouldn't hit another button. So they do happen, twitches, things like that.
Do you think that the Wrestling Association should be more responsible to the people that are actually out there today?
Well, you know, it's a thing, Kathryn, where there's arguments on both sides. I mean, you could say, okay, promoters make money, so sure, the guys should get coverage or whatever. But in the same respect, you know what you're choosing to do is dangerous. You get where I'm coming from?
Oh yeah, I get.
So I mean, you know, you're making a conscious decision. I knew when I got into wrestling. Now I didn't know about concussions and things like that. You know, 20 years ago, people weren't talking about concussions like they do today.
How long were you in wrestling?
I wrestled for probably 4 years total. Because I owned my own ring and we did a lot of shows, I probably worked 3 or 4 nights a week. There were some times where it would be 1 night a week, 2 nights a week. But even if we weren't working a show somewhere, we were still in the ring. Because just like you go to school to perfect a trade, we would be working in the ring to perfect our movements, to not only make it safer for ourselves, but for the other person.
Right.
And so, you know, there's no telling when you talk about the number of hours or the number of days I've been in the ring, it's probably been in the thousands.
And on that note, we need to take a short break.
I'm sorry. Sure.
I know we're so engrossed in this, and so give your website out again, please.
Okay. Remember the book, One Last Hurrah, www.onelasthurrahweb.com.
And we'll be right back with Ashley and Mark Smith.
Thank you.
And after these messages on Born B464.
For more information on our show, check out our website at www.bornb464.com.